Shalom, yasharala. Good evening and shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. I hope that you all are doing abundantly well. I hope that you are blessed, and I hope that you are thanking the Most High in your affliction and in your prosperity equally, because we serve a just, beautiful God. And I just hope that you have been enjoying the days that the Lord has given you. Like, this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Glory be to the Most High. I'm very happy to be on this evening to be able to share this moment with you. Before getting started, I wanted to forewarn my internet service provider is not that good in my area. I'm not sure why, because it's a credible internet service provider name, but for some odd reason where I'm located, it just doesn't really stand up to par. So I want to forewarn and then already apologize in the beginning. You will experience some freezing and some skipping. It's not my devices because they are all brand spanking new. It's the internet service provider. So I want to forewarn and apologize beforehand. And you may even catch moments where I freeze with a strange face, looking a dang fool, but I'll be right back with you. So anyhow, this is really dedicated to anyone that needs to hear it. So I wanted to briefly touch on us understanding what a high holy day is, um, when a new day is constituted, and then also when the new month is constituted. And wherever the Lord leads, that's where we will go. Because I know that there are some newcomers in this faith, and it could be a challenge trying to figure which way to go, especially when it's so many individuals that, partake in this practice. But in the same token, we are all aware that the Israelite community is not the most positive community to be a part of and to be as open and trustworthy with. And it's sad and it sucks to say, but it is of a truth. So I just want to do my due diligence to the best of my ability to offer the knowledge that I do have in regards to the scriptures. So I wanted to touch base on the day that we are currently in. So, just to briefly timestamp the day, Gregorian wise, today is the 19th day of the 12th month of the year 2025 AD. It is Friday and it is 6:14 p.m. Central Standard, okay? But Hebraic timekeeping, today is the first day of the 10th Hebrew month, and we are currently in the moon phase, new moon. I want to get back into the practice of time stamping the day and including the phases of the moon like I did formerly. It's just like I kind of stopped because I got a new phone and I did not download the Phases of the Moon app or the Moon Phase app to keep up with it. And I stopped going outside to check the moon, visually on my own to share it with you all from where I'm located. So I want to get back into the practice of doing that because I do find that that is a very beneficial practice for my people, especially my newcomers. So I wanted us to understand where to go to find the best understanding of how we know that we have entered into a new month. And what better way to start than in the beginning, which is the first book of Moses called Genesis. This is in chapter 1, and we're going to start in verse 14 and we're going to read through 16. These verses read, "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." So pause. We understand that in verse 14 that the Most High is explicitly explaining his reasoning for making the lights that are in the firmaments in the sky, right? So he's explaining that these lights are for signs. It's not there for just decoration for beauty. It's for a sign for you to understand the season, the days, and the years. So it's important. Verse 15, it says, "And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. Verse 16, it says, "And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, the stars also." So we understand that the two lights that the Most High made, including the stars, is the sun and the moon. The sun, of course, we know is the greater light. We don't need more description about that because we know that using common sense. We know that the sun is the greater light, it's the greater star. And the moon is the lesser light. Now, if you come over to the book of Ecclesiasticus, a lot of individuals call this book Sirach. I like to call it Ecclesiasticus. And I'm using the Red Book Apocrypha. This is chapter 43, and we're going to read verse 7. It says, "From the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreaseth in her perfection." So we understand that Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, this verse is letting us know the meaning of the moon or what the usage of the moon is for, or how we properly use the moon. I apologize. So we use the moon. I'm sorry, I went blank. We use the moon as a sign for feasts. It tells us what month we are in. You understand? And it tells us that a light that decreaseth in her perfection. So the moon has different phases. As I previously explained on 2 teachings ago, briefly, the moon has multiple phases. You have the waxing and waning, and that could be in the crescent or in the, so you have the waxing, waning crescent or the waxing, waning gibbous. You also have full moon and new moon. Those are the phases of the moon. New moon, which is a phase of the moon, the new moon phase is when the moon has no light. That is when her light has decreased and she is in her perfection. So we know that that is when a new month has started. And we know that by simply reading the scriptures. I want to take a moment to state that I do know that there are some individuals that consider the new moon or new month to be determined by the full moon, which is a phase of the moon, and that's completely fine. If that's how they want to go about it and understand it as in their scriptural understanding, that's completely fine. Me myself, I like to go by what I see specifically here in the scriptures. Nothing more, nothing less. I keep it as simple. Solo scriptura. That's the best way to go. So I wanted to turn you also to Psalms. This is Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. Psalms 81 verse 3. It reads, "Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this a statute for Israel, a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph, a testimony. When he went out through the land of Egypt, I heard a language I understood not." So in specific, it's verses 3 and 4 that we need to read in regards to understanding the new moon. If you utilize the Blue Letter Bible, which is an app, or you can go online, you can look up Psalms 81:3, and the phrase in verse 3, which reads, "the new moon." Let me get to it. I thought I had it pulled up. The biblical outline usage of the phrase "the new moon" in verse 3 in chapter 81 of Psalms is the new moon, or month, or monthly, or the first day of the month. So we understand that in accordance with the scriptures, that the new moon is constituted when we go outside and we see the phase new moon, when the moon has darkened in her perfection. And we also know that in accordance with the scriptures in Genesis, that the moon was made for us to understand. It's made as a sign for us to understand the seasons, the days, and the times that we are in. So that is just a brief synopsis of understanding the new moon and how to understand when we have entered into a new month as a Bible believer. Okay? I wanted to go into how we constitute a new day. Just a moment, briefly here. So, and actually, in us understanding how we constitute a new day, we'll also go ahead and briefly touch on a high holy day because I know that it's listed down here in the description of this particular teaching. So we are in the midst of the feast of dedication or the dedication of the altar. So we are currently in a feast day. Also, because the evening has begun where I am located, we are now in the Shabbat, the day of rest. It's the seventh day. Okay? So, just so that you know, if you come over to the book of John, this is 1931. The book of John, chapter 19, verse 31 says, "The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the bodies should not remain upon the cross on the Shabbath, for that Sabbath day was an high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and they might be. So we understand from this particular verse, this is probably one about one. I don't recall any other verses that speak about a high holy day, but this verse in specific is emphasizing a high holy day. A high holy day is when, what is that? Give me a second, y'all. It was like going on outside. But as I was previously mentioning, a high holy day is basically when a feast day coincides with the Sabbath. So we are currently in the dedication of the we are in the feast of dedication, right? And then we've also entered into the Shabbat. And then it's also a new moon. So we are in a high holy day. You respect it and you treat it just as you would any Shabbat day. Okay. But you're giving praise as you would any feast day. You're having fun, being merry, being jolly. I wouldn't personally condone, spending any money buying or selling on this day, but I do know that there are some people that, when they're partaking in the mirth and contributing to like the festivities of this day, there may be a bit of buying, selling. I just personally don't do it. I like to get all of that done before the sun goes down. You understand? So, again, a high holy day is when a feast day coincides with the Shabbat, which is what's going on because we are in the feast of dedication or dedication of the altar, and then we've entered into the Shabbat. Now, a new day is constituted by the evening. So we know that we've entered into a new day when the evening has come, when the sun has gone down. That is when the day is new. We come over to Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. It says, "In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre." So this is letting you know that in the end of the Sabbath, meaning the day of the Sabbath is leaving because it is beginning to dawn, the sun has gone down, and they're now entering into the first day of the week, which would be what we consider Sunday. The even unto evening is a day. So when the evening comes, a new day has begun. You understand? And I don't want to go too deep into it. I just wanted to briefly provide a brief synopsis, basically. And I know that if I remember correctly, I think Leviticus chapter 23:32 also speaks briefly about an evening to evening. It's speaking about how to observe a specific feast day, but it says evening unto evening. Let me see. Yes. So Leviticus chapter 23, verse 32, it says, "It's unto you a Sabbath of rest, and it shall afflict your souls in the ninth of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Sabbath." So as I previously mentioned, I'm over here just trying to read the other stuff. As I previously mentioned, I didn't want to get too deep into going too deep into understanding these three topics because they don't need like further breaking down, but I didn't want to go too deep into it because I feel like that brief synopsis should be enough. But if it's not, I don't mind at a later time. But also keep in mind that I have done teachings on those. I've done a full teaching on the phases of the moon. It's a couple years old, so you may have to do some scrolling, but I don't post many videos. So there is a video or teaching on here about the phases of the moon. And there's also a teaching on here pertaining how to understand how to constitute a new day. So the three things that we basically touched on is the understanding how to determine when a new month has begun, which is by the moon, understanding what a high holy day is, which is basically when a feast day coincides with the Sabbath or the Shabbat. And then third, also understanding when a new day has constituted, which is when the evening has come. I hope that that was edifying, straight to the point. I hope that you got a good understanding, and I do apologize about any tongue twisting as I normally do. I always tongue twist, but today is very significant because I am, when I say exhausted, I am super exhausted. I don't think that I've gotten the rest that I needed since I came back home from that long trip. And when I tell you I'm about to go and enjoy some delicious lamb and some mashed potatoes and some asparagus and a yeast roll and some of that delicious tea and go knock out while I'm sitting in front of my feast of dedication table looking at the fire burn on my beautiful menorah. Shout out to Simca, Sister Simca. Thank you so much for my menorah. I love it. So love it. She got it for me as a housewarming gift, which came right on time because I hadn't gotten a menorah. But Lord willing, in the future, I look to get a menorah that's about 4 feet tall. Oh, she's going to be so beautiful. But anyhow, remember, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Never cease prayer, bind and loose, and always live ready. I will talk to you all as Yahweh wills. Love you. Bye.